Hello YouTube. This is Tehlolzguy once again. This video will not be an attack on Nathan, as you might expect, but merely a small revelation I have had recently about fundamentalist Christians. Even though we have had arguments, flame wars, and back and forth battles with these people and their faiths, I have realized that the issue with these people is not their specific faith. It's their addiction to thinking that they are right. It's an addiction to believing they have a corner on the market of truth. In other words, it's an addiction to constructed truth, that is, to a belief that the truths they've created in their minds are indeed absolute truths and that everyone else must be made to believe in the same truths, lest they perish. They are addicts, and like addicts, they do not respond to logical or sound arguments. Like addicts, in order to feel good, they must believe that their constructed truth is the only reality, and they must defend that truth against any outside influence. Like other addicts, anyone who threatens to keep them from believing their constructed truths is seen as a threat. In other words, to be opposed to their brand of truth is to be a threat to their personal value, as humans, and thus will feel that they must attack. If you do not believe, as they do, you are lost or blinded by the devil or a tool of Satan. But as with any addict, we should not take their attacks personally. These people are not to be feared, they are to be rebuffed. They are not to be taken seriously, they are to be pitied. They are not to counter with anger, but to be shown the error of their ways. Rational arguments with history or science won't work. Your only weapon is to use their truths against them. They won't like it very much, as we have seen in the past. As we crack their defenses, they will seldom admit you've made them question their faith. Admission to being wrong is to tantamount to condemning oneself to hell. It won't happen. What will happen, however, is your counterattack will plague their mind, and one of two things will happen. One, they will kill their own rational thoughts altogether. Two, they will begin to question the validity of their constructed truths. Here are a few of the main arguments most Christians make. God said it. I believe it. That settles it. In the world of bumper sticker theology, this is certainly one of the more provocative statements. It was popularized in the 70s, and though fewer bumper stickers actually use it these days, it's often quoted by fundamentalists who have had their beliefs challenged. It certainly sounds ominous. If God said it, it must be true, right? Well, no. It's only true if indeed God really said it. And, as we've seen, what fundamentalists believe is often not what's in the Bible, the very book they believe God wrote. If someone gives you this argument, ask him or her to show you where God said it. You'll be surprised how many times they won't be able to show you. They may have heard it from a preacher, or on some Christian radio program, and just assumed it was in the Bible. But the truth is, it often isn't. As we have seen with abortion, premarital sex, and smoking, many so-called sins are never mentioned in the Bible at all. And if they do give you a verse, don't be afraid to look it up. More often than not, they'll be misquoting it, as we've seen in the issues of homosexuality and pornography. When someone says God said it, they're really saying they assume God said it. But much of the time they've chosen to believe it without ever looking it up themselves. The other most common argument is Jesus is the only way to heaven. True, according to the Bible. However, contrary to what fundamentalists preach, this does not mean everyone who is saved calls Jesus by that same name. In John 3:16 we read that God sent His Son, whom most fundamentalists call Jesus, to save the world, and that anyone who simply believes in Him will be saved. It does not say that we must call Him Jesus in order to believe in Him. In fact, the Bible gives many names to Christ, meaning many people very well might believe in the Savior without believing His name is Jesus. He's called the Son of God, Hebrews 4:14, the Son of Man, Luke 6:5, the King of Kings, Revelation 17:14, the Savior, 1 Timothy 4:10, the High Priest, Hebrews 4:14, the Teacher, John 3:2, the Word, John 1:1, the Rabbi, John 1:38, the Master, John 1:38, Emmanuel, Isaiah 7:14, Matthew 1:23, Creator, Isaiah 40:28, John 1:3, Colossians 1:16, Adam, 1 Corinthians 15:45, Angel, Genesis 48:16, Counselor, Isaiah 9:6, Ensign, Isaiah 11:10, Fountain Zechariah 13:1, Light John 8:12, Morning Star Revelation 22:16, Wisdom Proverbs 8:12, even Melchizedek Hebrews 5:6. And these are just a few. Throughout the Old Testament, before he was given an earthly name, Christ was referred to by hundreds of different names. And even if we call him Jesus, that's not his real name. In Greek it's Jesus, in Hebrew it's Joshua or Hoshea, and in Latin it's Jesu. If his name is important, by which name should we call him? Indeed, if using his correct name is necessary, then no English-speaking Christian could be saved, since we don't call him by his real name. And the most common argument: the Bible is infallible, perfect, infallible, undeniable. All of these are used to defend the so-called source of the fundamentalists' made truth, the Bible. It might be, if you can accept the convoluted reasoning of its fundamentalist defenders. But short of accepting it on blind faith, the Bible has lots of problems to overcome. Still, it's up to each person to decide for himself or herself. But even if it is error-free, it doesn't support fundamentalists. In fact, if the Bible is absolutely infallible, it only serves to prove them wrong. They say God is opposed to abortion, but the Bible isn't. They say God is opposed to drinking alcohol, but the Bible isn't. They say the God is opposed to sex before marriage, but the Bible isn't. They say God is opposed to smoking, but the Bible isn't. And they say God is opposed to slavery, and most of us would agree, and yet in Leviticus 25:44 we see that indeed the Bible supports it. Of course, you can also just quote these two verses one right after the other. God is not like men, who lie, he is not a human who changes his mind. Whatever he promises, he does, he speaks and it is done. Numbers 23:19. So the Lord changed his mind and did not bring on his people the disaster he threatened. Exodus 32:14. Okay, that is enough ranting for now. I hope that you have found this video not only informational, but perhaps a bit entertaining as well. Thank you.